two, swing!
Okay, let's see. Oh, this is perfect.
Boys,
The
look at us.
boys. This is beautiful. This is unreal.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to the first ever live TSR podcast. It's about 1 year to the day that we did our first ever podcast over Zoom because of the days of COVID. But we are back now to give you our year and best albums and songs. This podcast will be podcast number 1 of 2, and we're going to focus on albums first. But boys, before we get into the music, I just want to say this is fucking deadly. We don't get to hang out enough, so really happy to be here with you. I'm going to shift it over to you guys now and give me some thoughts.
I think before we start,
Oh, yeah.
let's have a little Shotsky here.
As we
Our friend Rito, every time we get together, Reed, he comes with this with his fireball. So here's go ahead and loosen us up.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys. Jeez.
That's tasty.
That's tasty. Thanks, Reed.
Well, boys, before we dig into some lists, give us some high-level thoughts on the year of music. Go ahead, Ross.
Guys, like, it's crazy we've been doing this for a full year. Like, if you think about when we started the podcast, our idea was, let's do 2021 review. We did it on shitty speakers, shitty microphones, and it really kind of kickstarted us. I had a hard time that year, and I had just a harder time this year. The amount of music that came out this year, high quality music, is just tragic, especially for a practice like this. I mean, I know we're gonna go through our lists, but my God, this take a long time. I'm really excited. I hope that we at least, as a trio, cover all the bases and really do it justice.
All right, guys, just before we get into the list here, just gonna break down what the plan is. So we're sat here left to right, Reed, Roz, and myself, Lundy. We're gonna count down each other's top 5 by going 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 4, etc. till we get to 1, 1, 1. There's some possibility of redundancy for sure, but we want to keep this a surprise for us as it is for you. We'll try and cut down on the double talk of albums as much as possible, but we're here to have fun too.
All right, so shall we start on album 5, top 5 of the year, 2022? Reed.
Let's do it. So I'm going to start us off.
All right.
Exciting.
So for me, just general comments. I had a couple that were creme de la crop this year, and then a whole stack kind of stacked in the middle in the 8 to 8.5 range that I could interchange day to day, kind of based on what mood I'm in or whatever. I'm happy with my top 5, but I felt like the field was a bit more convoluted this year, and we did a lot of good stuff this year, guys. We did a lot of good stuff.
Did a lot of good stuff.
So much shit.
Today, I'm going to talk 5 albums and 10 songs. I'm probably not going to mention like some great artists that we've covered at all. And me and Lundy were joking earlier. Hopefully you guys pick up some of those songs or so we can talk about them and, make it be known and give them our praises. So let's start off with might be a surprise for you guys. My highest TSR ranking of the year was Red Hot Chili Peppers' Unlimited Love. And that's my number 5. So I gave it a 9.2.
You gave it a strong score.
Strong score.
Strong score.
TSR, we gave it a 7.8 out of 10. Right out the gate, I'm biased. Big fan, have been for a long time. Like, we look back on a song like Black Summer now, and it's not that great, but when I hear it, I still think of, holy shit, John's back. And that's still like something that's pretty special. And from top to bottom, it's a solid album. I think you guys agree. Like, as the year went on, it kind of got saturated and probably don't want to hear a goddamn thing by them anymore. But that album is very good. It's too long, but if you cut a couple songs, I think it's right there with some of their most recent ones, like Stadium Arcadium type thing. And they still offer something that not a lot of people are right now. And for me, they land at number 5. And it's a pretty big drop from early in the year, 9.2, but I'm happy where they ended up.
That's a thing, right? And I found with this, it's like when you go back and listen to everything again, like your ratings, even in your head, like when you're objective, it's like things do change. You know what I mean? Like, you can get something the best rating. Doesn't exactly mean on this list. Like you couldn't go through twostreetreviews.com and check everyone's scores and go, that's going to be our top five, because that is not the case. It's not the case for me. You know, so okay, makes sense.
Yeah, just on the Chili Peppers note, I definitely surprised. I wasn't sure if it was gonna make your number one, but definitely surprised to see it slip down to five. My thoughts on the album, definitely just 100% really agree with you in that it's too long and they offer something that no one else does. It's, I don't think my rating would overall change too much just because of the stuff, but I think, and, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that 9.2 was extremely personal 9.2. Instead of the critical and personal mix that we often strive for, and that's no critique really, because it's just really hard. It's hard to listen to an album for a week of one of your favorite all-time bands and be like, man, that's one of the best albums I've ever heard. And
it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. You're super excited. Like John came back. Like I've been listening for 20 years, so you're just so caught up in it. And I'm like, I love everything. Love everything.
Yeah.
But like I said, I still really do think it's a solid album. As Ross said, going back and listening is very like, it's a crazy experience actually, because your opinion changes so much over time. And like, if I had to do all the albums again, like there'd be quite a few changes. So
I know.
the first.
And that's the thing. Like everything's color. Listen, guys, I gave Rufus the Soul a certain 9.5. Okay, we all color our, we all have internal bias. You know, we try to be as objective as possible, but when something comes out, you might have that hype, and then maybe a couple months down the line, you look at it a little more objectively. So at least you saw that and you accepted that and you put it in your five. So okay.
Yeah, I think one thing to point here, and I think it's an overall kind of touch on how he built his list, and I think the longevity of albums is hugely important here, and you can get kind of blindsided by thinking an album is really good or really bad when you're only listening to it like 10 to 12 times over the course of a week to try and come up with a review. But like especially like early year reviews, man, 6-7 months can really change your outlook on an album, and I think that's going to probably be reflected in a lot of our lists here.
Definitely.
Especially when so much good music is coming out. Like we were spoiled in the first couple of months of the year, and then like as it goes on, and then more comes out. It's like holy shit. Like, yeah, I know. That's great, guys. So I'll go next. My number 5. Love this album. This is one of those albums that you have high expectations based on the interest you have in the band going into it. My number 5 is Blue Rev by Always. Me and Lundy, actually, when we talked about this, we kind of had a little back and forth. I was saying it was very similar to the kind of their old sound. Lundy was saying, this is almost they're kind of maneuvering away from it to a more heavier kind of rock kind of sound. Be that as it may, either way, this album to me, I feel as though from top to bottom, the energy stays constant. There's no lull in this album. It's just, to me, it was pure enjoyment. I went in there with expectations, and it met everyone. And it's just a really fun. It's like 14 songs right to the closer, high energy, catchy, hooks are great, vocals are great, and it made my top 5 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you on this being a great album. I kind of liken it to, like, I don't know, like a family member, like Anti-Socialites and Always, like their first 2 albums. It's like a young family member, and then all of a sudden, like 10 years later, they show up and they're like this full-grown adult, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? And it's like booming out of the stereo. It's such an enjoyable listen.
And you love like the Canadian homegrown, right?
Yeah.
It's like this.
I got a special touch.
East Coast, right? So yeah, and you've seen. I have yet to see him.
Yeah,
so
I've seen him 3 times.
I'm very jealous.
Yeah, I really enjoy the album too. And for me, I was different than you guys. Didn't have the history to back it up, so this was the first experience with them. And for the couple weeks I did listen, it was very solid. I really like their sound.
Awesome, boys. So my number 5, and I was kind of a little nervous about including this one because strictly because of the longevity thing we just talked to. I'm actually going to drop back to our most recent review. My number 5 album of the year is Sorry's Anywhere But Here. So I love this album. I think it's really immersive, so many genres, but yet it's really cohesive. I kind of like liken it to the XX meets grunge. It's like you got these like duets of this female and male vocalist, but it's like harder, more hip hopier, and I think that's kind of due to Portishead's.
That's definitely a great comparison. for
Yeah.
sure.
So you know, it's just a really good mix. I love the shape shifting of songs. It constantly keeps me entertained. And it's just like I'm always, you know, I love albums that continue to surprise me and continue to do stuff within songs and within albums that drag me back to, you know, I want to discover more about this artist. I want to discover more. I can't wait for their next stuff, like that kind of thing. Like that. I love this. And cherry on top is just I had no idea who this band was 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, they were great listening and great way to finish the year for three of us. Like we rarely see eye to eye on like everything, and we were within 0.2.
Couldn't be a better bookend to the year.
Yeah,
to have.
It was great, and yeah, they offer so much, and their sound is very diverse. And like I said in my review, just like the grunge factor. And you guys don't know Pearl Jam like I do, but like some of their stuff reminded me of Pearl Jam, which might sound like a surprise, but yeah, it's great, and I've still been listening to it since we did it like the past 6 weeks.
I listen to it a lot too. Yeah, it's like you said, the Portishead connection is really great. I knew it was good when we reviewed it. Obviously, had agreed on the score, but when I put it on the website, when I picked a genre category, I picked basically every single one.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a little bit of everything, and then they come outside of the box in these genres as well. A lot of subgenres. It kind of makes you question what a genre is, what makes up a good band. Do they need to fit the mold? And this band does not at all. And I'm very hopeful for their future, and it's a great listen. So it's a great number 5.
One of the coolest things I found when I was doing a little research on this last night. So it's like Asha and Lewis is the two guys, girl and guy, and then like how they write songs, and half the reason it sounds so shape shifting and so different is they actually go and write separately, and then they come together with these two ideas on a song, and then they just morph them together.
No way, that's crazy.
So I think it's Tell Me, Baltimore, and Standing in the Rain or Screaming in the Rain or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they actually wrote those songs individually and then came together with their producer and made these songs. So it's just different, and it kind of leads to just how my overall tastes have morphed with TSR. Just where we're listening to so much music, I find myself much more intrigued by the weird, by the different, by the people pushing boundaries, and that's where this falls. I love this album.
Yeah. And even just the weirdness, like these guys, like when I did my research, like they met in high school doing their own shit, and they kind of came together because they kind of liked their sound and their workflow. So it really is a testament to the meshing and the chemistry of, and I put that in my review, the chemistry of the two lead songwriters, the fact that they in different rooms and they can still tie it together, and that's what makes it like the talent of these bands is just it's astronomical. It's great.
Yeah, I love it, and kind of take a different perspective on it. Like it doesn't just happen either. Like earlier in the year, not to take a shot at them, but I will. We did Panda Bear, and those are two different ends of the spectrum. And I just wasn't feeling it. Like I was like, this is too strange for me. I know you liked it.
Yeah.
You were kind of closer to me.
I think it's like Beach Boys on acid or something. It was interesting.
It's a good album.
Yeah. No, but sorry, Anywhere With Hair is solid. Up next, number 4.
You got it, buddy.
Number 4, let's go.
This might be surprise number 2.
Full surprises here.
So, always Blue Rev.
Nice. Okay.
It's been a climber for me over the past, I guess, 6 weeks since we reviewed it. Just in general, I keep going back to it. And I know it's like kind of in my recently played, but it's grown on me a lot. And one of my criticisms when I did the review was that it sounded similar throughout. I think that's still true, but so did like Nimrod and Insomniac by Green Day. Like it's like the same thing the whole time through. And I kind of changed perspective on it. They just give a different take of their sound throughout, and it's really good. It's really good, and it's grown on me. I don't have too much to add. We already said, but
what did you get initially? You get what, 7?
8.
8.
Yeah,
okay.
But
so you knew you liked it.
Yeah,
Just
they were
didn't
new
like that
band
much.
for me too, right? So I didn't have like that history on it that you did.
Could be a good thing because I mean, like Lonnie said, he kind of went in with expectation and he loved it, but it was like completely different, right? Which is in its own pretty cool. So that's awesome. Yeah, no, like I just touched on it. I love their sound. I love her voice. Everything about them is great. they're an East Coast Canadian homegrown band, and I love that. And I really love to see their success, and I really hope to see them in the future. And
They're playing Primavera, buddy.
Gotta get tickets. Gotta get tickets.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add either. I like these guys a lot. I have a history with them in terms of seeing them live and really enjoying their albums. Blue Rev simply blew me away. Yeah, perhaps we'll talk about it again later.
Perhaps we will. We'll see. So my number 4, this one, I mean, this could be full of surprises, guys. Who knows? This wasn't even reviewed by us. This was actually in a spotlight. My number 4 is "It's Almost Dry," Pusha T.
Wow. Wow.
So, actually, I heard about this album. I heard it was coming out and all this, and I've been following Pusha for a while. Like I always do. He was great, but Rito did a spotlight, and I even then didn't listen. I must admit, I didn't. But when I was doing this, I kind of went through. I made sure to do every possible bit of music I could, and man, like he's backed up by Pharrell. His, obviously his corner of the market is, he's obviously doing like, the gangster rap stuff. Like obviously me, I have a white piece of bread. I have nothing in common with this man, but he's making a fucking mark for himself in this genre. Like the flows are incredible, as you know, the beats are insane, and it has so much replayability. If you like hip hop from top to bottom, like there's like a bunch of music I love in this album. Like it's great.
It's great.
It's really good. Like if you
is.
like rap, Pusha T, I mean, it's great.
I love
It's
that. I love
It's
it.
and Pharrell producing it. Like I was like, wow, Pharrell's on this. Like, oh my god, yeah.
Man, I prepped so hard for this thing. And I was like, I listened even to some of the spotlight stuff, and I listened to albums I thought you guys might have in your top 5. I haven't listened to this once. I was like, damn, I don't think either one of these guys are choosing this album. They haven't raved enough about it, but admittedly,
I raved, man.
I am certainly the least favorable rap R&B type guy out of the 3 of us. So I apologize. I have 0 to offer on this
That's
one.
fine. But like the wordplay, man.
The wordplay
Isn't it insane?
Like from song to song, beat to beat, just
Insane.
so
Like the
good.
beats are amazing.
Yeah, I was just saying earlier to Lundy how I came out in the truck and like a song would play. I was like, damn, like that could probably be number
Hits. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's man. Yeah, Almost Dry, Pusha T. Number 4, Pusha T. I don't know. I think that was a bit of a swerve.
Oh,
but,
yeah, that came out.
I've been listening to that album constantly all week. Like and I know it's because it's newer, but like it deserves all the praise, and it's gotten a lot of praise. So yeah, number 4.
I'm gonna have to download and listen.
You need to, yeah.
You have to.
You need to.
Sorry, Reed, I didn't even give your spotlight to listen. It's so hard. All right, boys. Number 4 for me, and although I haven't listened to Pusha T, I'm gonna assume that this is in the complete opposite spectrum of the type of music. My number 4 is Beach House's "Once Twice" Melody. So this is as close to an experience as I think is possible without seeing something live. So like listening to Beach House is an overall experience. It's not just music. There is everything. There's layers. It's built. It's just like it makes you think. It's soft. It's shoegaze or dream pop. Sorry, they call it. It's just like I love just lying on the couch and just listening to it. It's so perfect. It's like it's as close to art, like something you could put up in an art gallery, as possible, in my opinion. Like it's just that it's beautiful in that way. Like I think similarly of Radiohead, but Radiohead's like a chaotic beauty. Like Beach House is like this simplistic beauty. I don't know. I kind of liken it to Radiohead would be like massive waves crashing against a cliff, whereas Beach House is like this slow tidal effect, just building, and then slowly drifts back away. It's just
damn, what a fucking description.
It's just
man that you hit the nail on the head so good with that.
It is just perfect. And just to add to the top of this, if anyone knows me and knows my listening taste, I absolutely hate an album that runs past 59:59. And this is like an hour 20, and I never get bored of it. I simply love this. I mean, Reed, I'll leave you to critique the
genre.
the genre, but I mean, this is This is beautiful music to me.
It is no secret here at TSR that Reed is not a huge fan of shoegaze
Or dream
or
pop.
dream pop. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, it's a lot to bite off and chew in a short period of time. I think I mentioned this in my review. Like, it's not something I listen to a lot. First of all, and then it's like trying to cram a whole lot of it in a short period of time and say, do you like it? Do you love it? Like, what do you give it? You know, like, so it's like us. Hey guys, you want to listen to a country album? And
No.
get thoughts?
Ever.
So for me, it just repeated listens. I was like, holy crap! Like, I like how they release it like 4 sides.
Sides.
So you
Side
like
ABC.
throw on a vinyl and like.
I will say I'm certainly never putting this on at a party, or I'm not listening to it back to
No,
back,
this
but
is-
there is some perfect times.
Mm.
And I mean, I enjoy the sad, that kind of music that's within my range of all time listening, work, hiking, whatever it is. If I'm by myself, I'm often listening to this album.
Definitely. I love this album. I love it. Like you said, it's a mood. There were a few months in my life this year where I listened to this literally every day. Like if my Spotify wrap up is Beach House on Top. Yeah. I listened to Runaway on that album probably 200 times.
Yeah, love that.
It's amazing. Love the sound, synth heavy, reverb infused, dream pop. That's completely my bag. And I truly love this band. And again, another band I'd love to see. But no, this album is very near and dear to me. I listened to it a lot. I gave it a really good review. And yeah, that's a damn good pick. I did not expect that at all. So
Oh, yeah?
That's awesome.
This is one of the I honestly did stay pretty true most of my rankings on stuff, but this is the biggest riser for sure. I gave it like an 8-1.
Didn't even think I'd get up there. That's
And
awesome.
no, this grew on me so much. I didn't realize how much I loved it until 4 or 5 months down the line when I'm still listening to this thing and I'm still giving it an hour and a half of my day sometimes. Just like
Just full playthroughs.
once
It
I get
just-
in the mood for it, I can't turn it off.
it flows. You can put it on and you can go through it
Yeah,
like butter. Man.
I get Reed's perspective, no doubt, but it's simply beautiful music to me.
Definitely.
But like
It's a mood.
to go back to like you explaining that to me is easy for me because like the shit I like, I know people don't like it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like as a Radiohead fan, like I had to listen to OK Computer like 40 times before
Absolutely.
it hit.
Yeah.
You know, and before I got into it. So you're like, here, listen to this and give me a review in a month. Like, okay, like that's your explanation. I know we said we were gonna be harder on each other this year, but like, I get it. Like, my top 2, like anybody listening, I'd say a lot of people wouldn't even like it to begin with. So you know what I mean? So
That's the whole point of this now.
I love it.
okay, number 3 album of the year for me is Kendrick Lamar with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. So this one is another very long album on the year, and I want to go back to my end quote. Kendrick Lamar is a generational talent in the prime of his career. He uses platform on this album to deliver a message of normalization and acceptance to his millions of fans. Simply put, he is currently second to none in the rap game and is paving the way to mount rap more. And I firmly believe that, like, I think of a comment Lundy made after, and not as a shot. It's like, would I ever like put it on at a party, or would I ever? And no, you probably wouldn't. Like, there's probably 3 or 4 songs on there that you'd consider doing that with. But this album is like just much more than that. Like, it's so layered. It hits so many topics. Kendrick is at the prime of his career, and like song by song, it's just incredible. And I think it's another tip in his cap. And I don't know what else to say. It's a good one. I'm kind of expecting to hear it maybe from Roz later, but
You don't know me.
but I don't know him.
You make a good point. And Lenny made the point initially is it's not an album you're going to throw on. It's not an easy listen. This album there's intent.
Yeah.
Like he has something to say, and he's just saying it in the way Kendrick will say it. You know what I mean? Would you put it on as an easy listening kind of thing? No, but the message is there, and I believe it's a very powerful album. So that's all I'll say for now.
Yeah, I mean, no harm at all in terms of including this in a top 5. I mean, lots of lists
Top
have
3.
top
pretty good. That's
3.
pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I respect this album much more than I like this album.
Mhm.
I think it's an album that was made and needs to be heard by a whole large group of people.
Mhm.
White boy from Newfoundland. I don't think I fall in the category. But no, man, you boys know I don't love rap a whole lot, but I love Kendrick Lamar. But yeah, this just it wouldn't crack here for me. But yeah, it's a great album. It's just, it's more about the message than the actual music itself, I think.
Definitely. And you know, a testament to Kendrick as an artist. I just remember watching the Super Bowl halftime show with all like Eminem, you know, Eminem, 50 Cent was upside down. He probably shouldn't have been, all that stuff. But then Kendrick comes out and just like leagues above just the actual rapping ability. Like you look at Kendrick, like like for to put that talent in a man and then to have the messages that he has to give out, like it's just a perfect combination. And yeah, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, like the positive outweighs the negative, I think. Like when you have a big album, and sure you might have a few missteps, but where he hits on so many at such a high level, it like overshadows the missteps. And if he has a bad feature or something, but then 2 songs later he's like destroying it better than anybody, like for me that means something. And like I'm like you guys, a nice 40-50 minute album is like where I want it to be, short, sweet, to the point, the best. But you can make exceptions when the time comes when the quality is so high.
Definitely. That's great. Number 3. That's good. So yeah, my number 3. So this is a band I used to love and then didn't love so much. And in a year of comeback stories, everyone loves comeback stories. You know, you have the AAS, Chili Peppers, Death Cab, these bands, Spoon. They're coming out of the shadows.
Spoon didn't make a comeback, man. You just didn't know them.
They come back in my heart. Came back right here. So in a year of so many bands in my mind coming back from, you know, kind of leaving their peak and like kind of like going like fading into obscurity, especially Spoon. Alpha Zulu. Alpha Zulu by Phoenix. I went to this album just going, you know, these guys are just gonna keep on shit in the bed. No expectation. And my God, I give that a 9 out of 10. I just when I listened to like my first initial experience with Phoenix was like Listomania. I mean that kind of stuff.
Wolfgang's is one of the best albums of all
Yeah,
time.
it's one of the best. Yeah, I would give that an extremely high score, and just that like resonated with me through my life and in the genre. And this gave me a lot of the same kind of vibe with like kind of a modern twist. And just from, I enjoyed that album immensely. I listen to it still all the time. That's like indie rock, synth rock. Like it's just so good. Like I just really, really, really enjoy it. And I think that to come out of that way, like they had 2 bad albums in the past couple of years, to come back and be like, you know, we still got a little bit in the tank, and to put that album out, that I'm putting that number 3, Alpha Zulu.
Yeah, they made it in like Le Louvre, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a good album, for sure. Glad you enjoyed it. You know, for me, I think I touched on most of the same stuff in terms of just super happy they made a comeback. You know, liking to the Death Cab, not Spoon, aspect of the comeback. But yeah, no, lots of good tracks on here, but just some for me that just didn't exactly hit. But I love Phoenix's sound. They are, you know, they kind of created. I don't know if they created the sound, but they're like definitely responsible for the comeback of the sound in the early 2000s. And you know, every single party had Listomania in 1901 rocking. It was soundtrack to University. So these guys definitely share a special place in my heart. Love the inclusion of Ezra Koenig, Vampire Weekend. Just like a really solid album. I'm glad it got elevated for you. Really
solid.
Good.
Guys, I can't really say much more. You hit all the nails on the head. Like for me, I think I'd have gave it a 7.5. I think it was fluctuating between 7 and 8. We pushed the review on this a couple times, which resulted in much more listening, which kind of sunk my rating a little bit. But yeah, really enjoyed it. You love it. Longtime fan, boosting up, kind of like me at number 5.
Yeah, I was a Labs fan, and the funny thing is, like, I didn't even like if I didn't know they had an album out, I didn't care. I was at that point, and then it was like, oh, this is getting some traction. Let's give it a shot.
When Reed said Phoenix got an album coming out in like 6 weeks, I was like, I don't
Ah.
care. Yeah,
I was like,
I
whoa,
don't care.
okay.
Yeah, I was like,
That-
last 2 albums were so bad.
exactly. So I just love to see it. So yeah, that's my
Do
number
you
3.
think you would have listened if it wasn't for
TSR? Probably
no,
not.
I doubt it. I honestly doubt it.
Yeah.
That's
I
why
don't even know if we would have listened if we didn't, like we all browse.
word of mouth. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like, it's the rumblings of the internet
Mhm.
saying that it was making some lists. It's like, okay,
Yeah, we're gonna have to give it a
yeah,
shot.
give this a shot, and
Yeah.
I'm glad I did. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Top 3.
excellent.
So yeah, number 3 for me. I'll make the self proclamation that this is the most fun album of the year. Wet Leg's self-titled debut, Wet Leg. There's been a great ongoing group chat thing for us for a while in terms of just sending the wet emoji with the leg emoji every
best.
time.
It's the best.
Thanks to Reed for getting us in on this. When I originally heard Chase Long back earlier this year, late last year, I was like, this is good, but gonna take some growth, and boy did it ever grow. I love this album just because how relatable it is, especially like just where I am maybe in my life. Like, you have the trials and tribulations of online dating, like just dating in your 30s, that kind of thing. You have the best COVID song ever written called Supermarket, about getting high and going to the supermarket and the joy of it. And I think, and I don't want to get too I don't know, political here in terms of the woke culture, but like I love the line in one of the songs. It's like, I know I should care, but right now I don't care. And there's just so much going on. And it's just like, at what point, like, how do I have the energy to care for all this stuff that's going on? And I just love that they just flipped everything upside down. They're having absolute fun with the whole album. The guitar riffs are just earwormy. Yeah, it's just really in a similar way to Story, my number 5. Like, I think each individual track has some redeeming quality that keeps me wanting to listen to it. I'm always just, I don't know if I wouldn't say I laugh out loud, but it's like, it's a joyful album. It's funny, it's raunchy, but man, it's like cohesive and kind of brilliant. And as a debut album, man, you got to give them props for that too. Like, just to be able to create something
100%.
that good.
Yeah, no, they set a high bar for themselves. And it's funny you touch on the COVID stuff. It's like in a world where basically like a lot of like a majority of the albums come out with a COVID kind of theme, to like look back and it not be cheesy or tacky and kind of still be like a good take on it. No, it's good. And I found in my research and just like talking to people, it's like they're very split between, like, with Wet Leg, like
Yeah.
as a band.
Yeah.
It's like you got these girls up here kind of like talking kind of like, they don't really care, but that's like the charm of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a cool sound. It's very unique. The writing is fantastic, and it's just now Shay's Long was good, but the whole album is damn good. So
It's
a
just
great
like
listen. It's a quick listen. It's not like a very long album either.
It's just like what they say is what they mean. There's no depth to the album, and it's like kind of cool in that way. Like, you're not there. Like, I love lyricism and I love songwriting, but like this album is just like, what I'm saying is what
Exactly,
I mean.
yeah.
It's just like, I'm straightforward.
You're not taking the listener on a journey. You're not trying to make
No.
them like connect the dots. You're just like you're just putting it out there, and like this is what
Like,
you're.
being young kind of sucks.
Yeah. Especially now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
good.
funny it led into that way, Roz, because I feel like I was on both sides of the spectrum. So I love this album to start. I think I gave it 8.5, 8.6, something like that. But as time has gone on, I don't like it as much now.
Oh no.
I don't like it
Okay.
as much now. Like I think initially, like the quirkiness, the funniness, like really enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was really was fun. But as time has gone on, I kind of just like, I don't like it anymore. Like,
Quirk's
I don't like your
Quirk's not
jokes.
for
are-
you. Yeah,
It's not
Quirk's
for
not for
you.
you.
Like, I do like it, but I liked it a lot more months ago than I do today, which
Fair.
is
No longevity to the Quirk.
Yeah.
yeah.
This one was an easy one for me. I still listen to it constantly, and I think we reviewed it like March.
I knew Wet Leg would be rumbling around. We've been talking. We've been sending legs with dripping water emojis
Yeah.
for months and months and months.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Top 2, baby.
Wrestling.
Let's go. Let's go.
All right, top 2. Getting into big money here. This is where it got difficult for me. Wonder if you guys have any guesses, but we won't do that. So number 2 for me is Big Thief.
What's the album called?
Dragon, new road to take.
New dragon, new.
Getting a newborn tattoo.
I believe in
Girl
you.
with the dragon tattoo.
Yeah, so I know this was a controversial take. It's a very, very interesting album. I think that's one word that can sum it up pretty well. I know me and Lundy and maybe Roz, I'm not sure, but I know we love big parts of this. Big parts of it are like next level good stuff. There's probably 5 or 6 songs on here that could contend for #1 song of the year for me. And again, like the Kendrick argument, that holds weight. I get as you go through, it's very different. They experiment with sounds, some that they excel with, some that are kind of like, what did they do? But when it comes to albums of 2022 and their impact on me as a listener, they wind up at #2 for me. They're incredible. They vaulted to the top of the list of wanting to see live. And yeah, I don't know what else more to say. Like it's have some arguments from the boys, but that's just it. Like I go from 1 to 20. 20 goddamn songs is way too much, but even if you picked out a few, I think it's beautiful. And like again, repeat myself, there's 5 or 6 on here that are song of the year contenders.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just the highs are high and the lows are low. That's pretty much how I describe the album. I think Linker is arguably the best songwriter, especially in indie rock music right now. Like, I think she writes absolutely beautiful songs. And I mean, they produce so much music that you got to eventually get bored with the norm, right? And you got to experiment. And kudos to them for that. The year before they put out 2 different albums and they were both great and they both had their own sound. This time around, they just decided to go with one album with a bunch of different sounds. I agree with you that there is, I don't know if I go as high as 5, but there's 2 to 3 songs on here that I absolutely adore. I think the most interesting thing here is that you rated it really high.
Very high.
Then we did a podcast that you said I rated it too high.
Mhm.
And now year end, you are back on it as being a #2 album. And I would like your thoughts on that.
I love this.
I
I
think
love
it's
this.
just,
I was
like,
thinking the same thing.
It's like fluctuation, I guess. Like when it came to re-listening and reflecting on the year, like I would throw this on traveling, and even if there was a misstep, like the songs that are strong, just how do I say it? It's like music makes you feel a certain way, right?
100%.
What it's all about.
Music, when something does something for you in a certain way, that holds weight. And like when I listen to Adrian on the like I said, the number of songs that are like the slower, more acoustic type songs, she kills all of them. And even the other ones, like there's some in there with some Neil Young twang on it, and some of them I think are just misses. But again, this music makes me feel a certain way, and it's top 2 caliber. And even if there are a few missteps, I think it deserves to be where it is.
I respect that opinion. Big
I
time.
respect it too. No, you explained it well. You called it a journey, and there's no other way.
You gotta explain. You gotta read that.
That's the thing. I can explain. I can give my opinion and thoughts on what you've been saying, but I am proud of this.
You already have.
It's the best TSR excerpt writing
intro
of the
paragraph.
year.
I was sitting in my room. How the hell am I going to start this? Let's do an analogy, and so I did. So For those who haven't heard this, I think Reed did it once on a podcast episode, and I'm just gonna say this, and this is exactly what I think of this album. www.tcreviews.com
Please.
/ dragon something.
I think we just called this Dragon because
Dragon 88.
Have you ever gone on a really long car ride where there's a lot of interesting sights along the way? Beautiful countryside, sparkling ocean. Hell, maybe even see a wild animal or two. But it just goes on for way too long. Oh, there's construction at this section. Why are they doing this on the goddamn weekend? Now you're stopping at a dilapidated gas station that doesn't let you pay at the pump. Now the sun's starting to set, and you're really starting to squirm in your seat. What I'm trying to say is that this album has a lot of pretty things in it. It's a nice album. There's some good songs, but there's just so much fluff and detours it's taken into this extremely folky, and folk is okay, but it's just they didn't need to do that. They could have cut this in half, and I would have given it a much better score. But yeah, that's my opinion.
yeah, I'm with you there.
That's fair, and I won't argue it. But what I will say is those weekend workers get paid overtime, and if you can't pay at the pump, someone inside is getting paid minimum wage. So it's more opportunity for the listeners, and I don't know. I agree with you guys. If I could, if it was up to me, I'd cut a handful of songs. But at the end of the day, like I said, they just their music moves me in a way that the others don't, and that means something. So
As someone who absolutely adores lyricism and emotional connection to an album, I completely relate with that. It gets me that this album in particular gets me frustrated at times because I don't like a lot of the songs and I don't connect with them. But if you guys, give the album a full listen, Rito loves it. But if you're interested in the really good version, hit me up. Lundy has already created the better album with only like 12 songs.
The Lundy cut.
The Lundy cut is available.
The TSR cuts always do it. I can't believe you made me look like I don't believe in workers' rights. You're painting me with a broad brush there, buddy. My God.
Great choice, Rito. It's not for me. And speaking for Roz here, I don't think it's for him, but I don't think it's an album that you can just straight up laughably call as why the hell is it included here kind of thing, right? Like
it's tough, man. Like I struggled a lot because I mean it is difficult. Like is this an album I'm gonna throw on more than something I'd rank 6, 7? Like maybe not. Like you gotta be in a certain moment, in a certain headspace to listen to it, and have enough time to get through it, right?
Yeah.
So it was difficult, and like with a lot of the choices I made, like they were over an hour, and it just is what it is. I don't know, like I mean, the others below it, the caliber wasn't high enough to offset the length challenge.
I respect it.
Oh, I definitely respect it.
I respect it.
Give us your number 2, Rozzy.
So so I'm going to lean more into my roots, but it's not just I wouldn't call it a personal bias. It's another spotlight. Brought up by Lundy actually got me started in this, but my number 2 is Cherry by Daphne.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
This is going to be an album that I don't believe the mainstream would enjoy, but as far as pushing the boundaries of a genre, pushing the boundaries of electronic music, and we talked about this when I was talking about Fred again. There's nothing like this. He's crafted a very polished, well-made album and give it the facade of a guy on a piano and a drum kit and kind of like making it all in like a studio session. It's like nothing I've ever heard before. The sounds put together, nothing I've ever heard before. I mean, he's using like drum arrangements, like 2 or 3 different drum arrangements per song. Sometimes you might think it's he's looping, but he's not. There are these like minute details. If you really listen, there's a song called Amber. It's just hypnotic. Like the soundscapes are just insanity. So when I look at like a top 5 list and I go, what goes to the top? What's something I never heard before? What's something that's pushing the boundaries? For me, Cherry by Daphne would be number 2.
Yeah, I think well, it's not gonna be in my top 2, but I think what I said to you when I listened to this, I think it was one of the best electronic dance music albums I've ever listened to in my life. I'm not a huge fan. This isn't my bag for sure. But like he just rids me of all the complaints I have with EDM music, like, garbage lyrics and loops. Like he's just constantly layering stuff. He continues to surprise you. I love that he's like a 45-year-old math major
Nerd from Manitoba.
From Manitoba, like. And I think also, a little special piece of me loves this guy just because of how good Caribou was at Coachella.
So good, man.
But yeah, this is like, we've said this a few times now. This isn't like albums aren't albums that you're going to put on parties, but this is an album you can throw on whenever it could be a perfect album, just mindless work. There's no lyrics or whatever, or it could be a friggin' perfect party album, man. It's a really, really, really good dance music album.
It is. And it's pushing, like, for me, like, I used to DJ when I was younger, and I know the EDM 4 on the floor. I know the put your fucking hands up, and I know the tropes of EDM. And this breaks literally every trope. Like, songs can be 1 minute, songs can be 5 minutes. He can do one thing in one song, and he'll have a completely different thing in the other song. And we've seen him live. We've seen him on a synthesizer doing it. So you can picture him doing that in a studio and just creating a full album, just manifesting from that. And there's a beauty to that, to creating something like that. So no, it's, for me, that's some high quality stuff. So number 2.
Absolutely. Whenever I let you guys go first, you always take my points. So, but this album I tried to give a shot a few times. I travel quite a bit, and I would just fall asleep. It's not because the music was bad, just because I was tired or whatever, and I didn't start. Like, it's a lot going on. It's chaotic. I have to give go back and give it more time of day type thing. But how about the spotlights?
Man,
Spotlights.
yeah. Not only are we showing hog and getting out there, it's resulting in some great music. And I mean, that's kind of the hard part that's going to get sidetracked here on TSR, is we all have to kind of come to an agreement to review an album in full and spend a week with it.
It's a commitment.
Whereas like these spotlights give us an opportunity to kind of dive into genres that we specifically like and kind of bring more albums up. And I'm stoked that it has happened for you twice in this year. Like, that's awesome.
But this is the thing for me. It's like the TSR structure and schedule. Like, you have to do these albums, and you do them, and that's it. Spotlights are organic. Like, you talked about the Pusha T album, and then we talked about the Daphne album, and I went on my own and did it. This is not like, oh, I need to have this done for Wednesday. This is like, these albums have been talked about, but there's no responsibility to write about them. And then just organically just fell in love with them. So yeah. It's a great thing, and it's a once again an aspect of TSR that makes it so good. So
My number 2.
you're number 2, buddy.
All right. It wouldn't be a Lundy year-end list without a truly sad album.
Let's hear some sad stuff.
So my number 2 is Mitski's Laurel Hell. This, like, I love Mitski. I think and I mean, kind of, I'm not the only one here. She's just one of the best songwriters. And I just said that about Lenker from Big Thief, but Mitski is truly one of the best songwriters of all time. I think, like, everything she says is just hauntingly beautiful, and she has the vocal to match with it. But my favorite part about this album is just the chemistry that her and her longtime producer have. Like, they have 4 or 5 songs on this album that are just minimalistic. There's just a simple piano or a simple bass, and they just let her lyrics and her songwriting, her storytelling, her vocal shine. But then also you have like 4 or 5 tracks that are like, it feels like ABBA suddenly joined the fucking background music. Like The Only Heartbreaker, Love Me More, Should Have Been Me. Like, these upbeat, amazing songs are just so good. I love the variance in it. She just strikes a chord for me. This is kind of particular, and back to Reed's point, in that, like, when you can find an emotional connection with an artist, with an album, this kind of hits the spot for me. And as we alluded to earlier, she absolutely dominated my Spotify year-end stuff. She had all 5 songs.
Did you bring that up?
No, I never told you
I
guys.
brought it up, and he said it solidifies his.
Solidified.
Yeah,
Okay.
solidified my list. And so yeah, she had the top 5 songs, and she was #1 album. She was my most played artist.
Unreal.
It's I know it's probably not critically one of the top 2 albums of the year, but personally, this one holds a really special place to me. I love this artist, and I love this album.
Yeah, I've seen it around. I've seen it on lists. Not super, but there's a beauty to, like you said, like she's like I always go back to Lucy Dacus. I don't know why, but like the songwriting aspect. There's such a simplicity to what she's doing. Like it's like an 80s kind of vibe. You got this kind of like retro wave kind of, there's a synth, there's some drum machines, stuff like that. Very, very, very simple stuff that's kind of focusing on the lyric. And no, I've always really liked Mitzi. Her last album I loved. Be the Cowboy. I love and I still listen to. When I went in this with high expectations, did it hit my expectations? I can't say it did, but did I enjoy the album? Yes, I did. Like I love the retro synth sound, and I really did enjoy it. But yeah, no, that's a great pick. Mitski's she's one of the good ones.
Super sad, right?
Yeah.
Like she
So
wants to give
sad.
up music or something. Like, or
Well, like her whole thing between like Be the Cowboy was like her high, like her au revoir. Like she's gone. Like she doesn't want to do music anymore.
okay,
And she did a huge tour with that album and was like, I'm so over music. I'm so done with what this does to me. And then this album was like, I don't need to write all these simplistic, like most of her music is like half of this album. It's kind of simplistic. It's just really her shining, her songwriting shining. And she's like, I'm just gonna go make a different sound. Like there is old Mitski in here, but there is some stuff that she's never even touched before. And it really turned out well, in my opinion. And I'm glad to see her back. And a lot of the album is just kind of like, it's different takes on situations that are kind of touched on way too much in music, like relationships and stuff.
But the tropes of like music, like any genre, like it's usually based on sadness and heartbreak and all that stuff. So, but the fact that she can make it her own and kind of step out from the group, then it just shows the quality in her music. So, she's great. Love Mitski.
yeah, good pick. I haven't said too much. Like I had a middle of the pack. I think I gave it a 7 or something, but it was my first experience with her. I knew she like hit it big on Be the Cowboy, and I listened to that after this, and I liked it quite a bit more. Love that it struck a chord with you.
Yeah.
And I haven't listened to it too much since then. I know what is it? The Heartbreaker.
The Only Heartbreaker.
The Only Heartbreaker was a
Yeah.
good one, and there were a handful of other ones I really enjoyed too.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do
Number one.
guys. Let's see if T-Star agreed on this one or not. I'm gonna say no, but I guess we'll see.
I don't think there's any chance we all have the same.
Zero chance.
0 chance?
There is 0 chance.
Zero chance.
Yeah, I think there's 0 chance.
I actually, honestly, if I could predict, I would not even know what to pick for Reeds. I don't know.
Oh, I know what Reed's is.
And I know what Lundy's is. I think I know what yours is.
If I think I know what yours is, I know what his
Let's just
I
see.
know what yours is.
Stop.
is.
It's like the Spider-Man meme. Like everyone's just pointing at each
All right,
other.
all right.
Okay, hey.
I got 2 choices for Ross. I think.
right, let's
I'm
do it.
down to 2. All right, Rito, bring us in.
Okay, the best
No.
album of the year, no debate, no debate,
Okay, it's subjective.
is Radiohead side project, The Smile. A light for attracting
I got a
attention.
feeling that you guys
Lundy
are gonna
Lundy
agree on
knew, of
this.
course he knew, of course he knew. What can I say about this album? I mean, the boys are just geniuses. I feel like they operate on a level higher than others. For me, we talked a lot about longevity today, and that's one word that rings true on this one. Like, there's so much diversity song to song. I have a quote here from my review
Myself
at
twosweetreviews.com.
/reviews/ smile.
I said they have so many weapons. You will never work in television again as a raucous rock song. The opposite, The Smoke, and We Don't Know What Tomorrow Brings, have an injection of groove with Skinner's drumming leading the effort. Speech bubbles and Open the Floodgates are meant for quiet moments alone where you can shut the brain off, drift off somewhere, and appreciate the intricacies of the music and Tom's soothing vocals. Panavision is something straight out of a Jason Bourne thriller as the haunting piano paves the way only to be supported by the pleasing horns. And that's enough of that. But
That
just
shit.
in general, song to song, it's beautiful, and I think it's number one. I don't know. I think I'm biased because I'm a big Radiohead guy, and it's hard to separate that.
No one here likes Radiohead, right? Just read
No, we don't like Radiohead here at all at TSR.
to a concert.
It did well. What do we?
Invented two
It did really well. I think it was like an 8.6 or something
Yeah,
like
we
that.
all give it.
Yeah, we
really
all
hard.
give it good, yeah.
Yeah. You done or?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I have a lot of thoughts on this album,
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
and I don't know if you were predicting it as number one, but it's not my number one.
No, I don't think it is.
I actually thought it was number one. So
Okay.
I agree.
So for me, this is number 6. It just fell out of my top 5.
Yep.
And here's my thoughts on this. And I don't think it's particular to do with the album, but more so what we've gotten ourselves into here.
What have we gotten ourselves into, guys?
So just let me explain here. I fell in love with Radiohead because I had the ability and the desire to listen to them over and over and over because something slowly clicked and then it all clicked and it all came together and it's like it's probably I would tell people it's my favorite band. I think The Smile are similar and I just don't have time to listen to them. Like I think we got lucky on this score because we pushed it out. Like I think we had like 6 weeks to listen to this one before we actually wrote a review.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of touched on it. I don't know if any of us touched on it in our reviews, but we all talked about it in that if I had to write this 2 weeks earlier, this was probably like a low 7 type album for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have constantly gone back and tried to appreciate what this is in terms of Radiohead. But it almost restarts for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it clicked for me back in June, and now it's like half the album for me is just it doesn't click anymore. So I think in 5 years I might be laughing at myself that this wasn't number one.
Mm-hmm.
But right now for me, it just doesn't have the accessibility to make it this year's best album. All-time album? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like really could be.
Yep.
This year, not for me, but I mean number 6, so I mean it's a damn fine album.
Yeah, absolutely.
Damn good
Yep.
album. You know, it's my top 10. I enjoyed it a lot, but it's to me there's a mental block. It's like to me it's like Radiohead light. It's like I enjoy Radiohead. I love Radiohead. And like this stuff, it's like Tom is just like teasing us with this stuff. Like it's good music. There's some good songs, but I just can't get behind it. It's like this is like, I don't know. I feel like I'm so spoiled by Radiohead. That this effort it's good. It's fun. Obviously, they're doing it for a reason. I don't know why they're not just releasing more Radiohead music. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
but
I mean, like what does Tom Skinner do that Philip Selleck
Yeah, what's going on
doesn't
here,
do, right?
right?
Like it's not like they're different. They literally sound like Radiohead.
It's just it's a Radiohead light. So
I,
it's like,
in my
enjoy it.
opinion, I can see a couple songs on there that I don't think
Maybe a
Radiohead
little
would
more
ever put out.
digital and more, but it just
I think the biggest difference for me has always been Greenwood's reluctance to do guitar solos and really shine himself. But I think on this album, I don't know who. I actually don't know who's playing the solos. I never looked into it. It could be him or Tom because they're both fantastic guitarists. But like, there's more of a musical element to this than some Radiohead albums. But nah, man, it's really damn good, man.
Yeah, well,
it's really damn good.
We focus on the negative because like we got to have different opinions, but like we're all top 10, top 6, top 10.
Yeah.
So that's probably like,
Yeah.
it's like
I would think that if you asked us last year when we were talking about this album coming out, I think we'd all be happy with the end product.
Absolutely,
Well,
yeah.
I remember when you were like you were sending us like shares like of like their live stuff. They're doing like in the studio and it sounded really damn good and it was exciting, but it's just I don't know, man. Like I love Radiohead, but like these like side projects it just seems like a little more watered down.
Yeah, we talk about accessibility, like flip a coin, Dream House versus this. Like if you're telling someone or what I'm trying to say, Beach House, or this, like which one are you gonna like? Like I don't know.
It's tough. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
tough to get to this point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just like, and I'm kind of with you, Raz. It's like, just why isn't this a Radiohead album?
Mhm.
Yeah. Why?
I mean,
why
I'm
do
sure
all
there's a
the
reason.
why
I'm sure
rebrand? Why
Yeah.
tour? Why do everything? Like,
Apparently,
Tom York is obviously amazing, and he's doing Tom York.
Yeah, and he's a little more cheeky on the album too. Like he's not like Radiohead's.
He could be cheeky on Radiohead album.
He
Doesn't
could,
matter.
yeah,
He
but he never really has
doesn't
been, right?
evolve on his-
Yeah.
talking about Trump and stuff like.
Yeah, he doesn't have
Yeah.
to start a whole band, and
But maybe he feels like he does, right?
he's a genius.
That's his
He's a
artistic
genius, so
opinion.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Who am I?
Mhm.
Great
that's
choice,
it.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
great fucking
That's a good
choice. I really love this album.
Yeah.
I
Great
was
album.
I was telling I can't I was telling Roz that I listened to my top 5 albums and this album on the way in from Buren, and they all lined up perfectly. Like I fucking crested the hill when my last album stopped, and I was like, "Damn, that's a fine, good album." And it's sad that it's not in my top 5. I was like, I'm pretty certain Reed's gonna have it, so I'm glad I get to talk about it. But yeah,
For
man,
sure.
love Tom, love Johnny. It's just it's just not quite there for me.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. She's beauty.
Damn good number one.
Damn
And
good
I'm
number
glad
one.
when we do up the graphics, so we'll have that right there, so people will listen to it if they haven't yet, because it's a good album. Yeah, this probably isn't a big surprise. I think this is due, but I think Kendrick Lamar, Miss Morale, except it's number one.
That was not in my 2 choices.
That's my number one. This is the thing
Ooh.
for me when it comes to music. The same way that Cherry got number 2 because it's kind of like expanding the genre. Music can be uncomfortable. When I went through that album a few times, and Kendrick literally has a song where he's like in a domestic dispute with his wife. Like the whole song is him like fighting with his
We
girlfriend.
cry together.
Yeah,
I think so.
fighting his wife. Like music can be uncomfortable. Music can have a message and not be enjoyable. And for him to be able to do it in a way that he can release it as a full album and the way he did, it's just using music as a medium more than just something to listen to and enjoy. You know what I mean? It shows the skills of an artist and the craft and the uncomfortable topics that he goes through, yet still being able to make something that you can listen to and is consumable to a bigger audience. I just think the album in itself is just a masterful album. And for me, that's why it's number one.
Yeah, man, no arguments, man. If you connect with it musically, that's for sure.
I don't connect with it
No,
as a human.
No.
I understand it connecting in the way it should connect. It's connecting.
But I
in
mean,
the best way.
that's the thing, right? Like, for me, I don't enjoy the music of it. Like, I don't think it's
objective music.
like the beats don't exactly always do it for it. Yeah, sometimes he's just like rapping about like I don't think the features are that great. Like, I don't want to harp on your number one because it's a damn fine album. But like, is it like I said earlier when Reed mentioned this one, it's an album that needed to be made that I much more respect and I like.
Which is completely fine. Right?
Yeah, well, I gave it number 3, so you know what I think. But like, United in Grief, N95, Father in Time, Count Me Out, Silent
It's
Hill.
it all,
like,
man. Yeah, it's just
one after one. It's good.
even
And you're
the
right,
songs
it
that
is
you might-
uncomfortable.
even the songs you might think
So uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But like being uncomfortable is a feeling, and music's supposed to make you feel.
Absolutely.
It's a feeling.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
not all gonna be going away like that was good. It's like fuck, that was like weird. That weirded me out. And then you're thinking about it. It resonates, right? So that kind of like that's what I was looking at. It's like nothing is doing that for me except this. So that's why it's my number
I
one.
like it. It's rap 2 years in a row, eh?
Yeah, rap your.
Wow, yeah, big rap guy.
Yeah, Tyler. Shout out to Tyler, man.
Shout out
What a
Tyler. Yeah.
Damn good album that was too.
Yeah. You good?
We're at the last number one, ladies and gentlemen. So
Yeah. I kind of gave this away earlier. Saying we'll talk about this one later, but I have to say I'm stoked that both of you guys had this in your top 5. I hate agreeing with those guys over at the Fork and Spoon, but always Blue Rev is my number one album of the year.
Very nice.
And I think we've touched on this album a few times now, so I'm not going to harp on this too much, but I have one particular point I want to point out. The album's only 38 minutes. It's 14 songs. But to me, when I'm listening to it, it feels like I've spent an hour and a half listening to this album. Like, it feels so much longer than it is. I'm constantly unpacking, like peeling back layers of all these songs. Like, I think Molly's lyrics, and she writes with O'Hanley too. But like, I just think they're magnificent. Like, there's just so much structure. There's so much depth to them all. And just as an indie rock fan myself, I adore when people turn up the volume to 10 and just crank out distortion and reverb. I think it's just, and I mean, the special place too with the band themselves. And, I've seen them when I was like 18, seeing them when I was 22, seeing them when I was 26, hopefully going to see them again this year. It's just like seeing them when no one knew them versus now seeing them on like the biggest,
Seeing them grow. Yeah. It's
seeing
a
them
beautiful
on
thing.
the biggest blog, like the biggest as like the number 2 album, man. It's just like, damn, that's really cool. And man, I love this band. I love Molly. I love their sound, and this is just like a next step that I did not foresee. Blew me away. I think longevity of this album, we're gonna be listening to this one for a while.
Yeah, like I mentioned, it's just like it's pure energy from start to end. Like you said, there's so many textures that a short album with that many songs that they're covering so much ground anyway. Every song is different. They're it's has its own makeup. And to your point where you've known them for so long and they are growing naturally, whereas they're not like a viral hit. They're not, a mainstream artist. They're just kind of growing just based on their pure talent, and it's taking them to the moon. And it's honestly it's amazing. I love Antisocialites, and I love this album, so that's a great number one.
How great is it when you anticipate something and wait for it to come out and wait for, and it just
It's good.
delivers, like just destroys.
It's the best
Literally.
feeling.
Yeah,
It's the
so I was
best feeling.
very excited for that for you guys. Like when I gave it to 8 and saw you were rolling in. Actually, that was one I was later than you guys, so you guys were already had the group chat filled up, and I saw one message. Hopefully, Reed got this one right.
That was probably me.
We don't. So for everyone listening, like we keep this as much of a surprise as possible. Like this is all in good fun with each other. That's what makes it so great. And yeah, there are definitely times where there is definitely undue pressure on one member, and it's like, oh man, what? And then it's like, oh, it's 2-on-1 this way, or it's 2-on-1, it's like ganging on each other. But it's all good fun. But no, it's good that you liked it too.
Yeah, I had it as number 4, Big Riser. So
4, 5, or 4.
Yep, 5.
4, 5, and
Crack
1.
all the top 5.
4, 5, 1. I'd say on the accumulative one, it might be number one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably will be. Yeah.
TSR, yeah. If we
Yeah.
average it, the scores as we
Yeah.
do.
I'm super glad you guys liked it. I know I spent when I was like listening to it, I was like, am I liking this too much because I like them? I love their sound. I love everything about them. And then, you guys kind of solidified my feelings in that like I was if you guys would have came in with like 6, I was like, all right, what did I see in this album that's wrong?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, what am I blinded by?
Mm.
Because I value both your opinions on
And
music.
we don't have that, but we have never seen that. Like I've never even seen them.
Yeah.
And you have a personal connection in that way. And I came in knowing the last album and then hearing a kind of a different sound and still enjoying it so much. So
I mean, there's something to be said. I know not everyone's gonna understand what the breezeway is, but like one time I was just there stumbling around the breezeway with a fucking monster jug in my hand, and there's a band playing on the stage, and I'm like, man, these guys sound good. I always like good music, like that kind of shit. Like, and I was like, damn, who is this band? Always okay, cool. See them again 4 years later. See them again
That's so
at the breezeway. Seen them Breezeway, Rock House, Club 1, and that's crazy, man. And they're all intimate venues. They're like absolutely amazing.
The only big band I saw at the Breezer was LMFAO. And I knew the owner, I knew the promoter, and he paid $20,000 for him. Just right when I'm in Miami, bitch came out.
Well, it's like following
There
an
you go.
athlete at a young age. You watch him go up and you celebrate as they get
It
huge,
feels
like,
better. It feels better.
Yeah.
Just to see him like kind of blow up like that.
All right, boys. One final question before we sign
Okay.
off. Japanese breakfast or the smile?
Japanese breakfast, I think.
Tyler or Kendrick.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Love Tyler, man.
For me, as much as I just gushed on Always, Japanese breakfast is an all-time classic for me.
Man.
For those that don't understand that question, that was our number one album for
Insert-
last year.
Insert gong here. Yeah. I know. It's tough. Like I feel like the level of music, like the threshold was higher this year, but like the top music was higher. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain.
I think we just explored way more too, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know, especially in the first half of 2022, like we were just basically going off bands that we knew. Sorry,
Yeah.
but 2021 when we originally started, like this,
Yeah.
for last year, like we weren't. Well, I mean, like I wasn't grinding the New Music Friday.
No,
and
no,
finding
definitely
albums that were like rated like 80. If we had, we probably would have found Turnstile.
Definitely not.
Right.
Shout out to Jack. Thank you very much, Jack.
Yeah,
Thompson.
shout out Jack Thompson.
Man. Only. All right, let's take a little break.
Sweet.